The last time I walked through that tunnel under the home bleachers, the lights were already out. The stadium should have been empty. It was 2 in the morning, 3 weeks after the season ended. I was the only one there, or at least I thought I was. Someone was sitting in the press box, and they were watching me. Let's get into it. I was 22 when this happened. I'd just graduated with a degree in sports broadcasting and managed to land a part-time gig with a large high school district in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Not exactly ESPN, but it paid, and more importantly, it gave me access to every stadium in the district. My job was equipment. I'd show up before games, get the PA system running, make sure the scoreboard was synced, test the press box audio, and then stay late to break it all down and lock up. On game nights, the place was electric, 10,000 fans, marching bands, the whole thing. I loved it. The problem was what happened between seasons. The district would occasionally need someone to run maintenance checks on the equipment. Firmware updates, cable replacements, battery swaps. Stuff that took time and was easier to do when no one was around. So, I'd come out alone, usually late in the evening after my day job, and let myself in with my master key. I did this maybe a dozen times without a single issue. The first time I noticed something was a Tuesday in late November. Season had been over 3 weeks. I was in the press box updating the software on the main scoreboard controller when I heard the stadium's PA click on. Just a click, like someone had bumped the power switch, and then silence. I figured it was a voltage spike, made a note to check the surge protector, and kept working. A week later, I was back for a cable inspection. Same thing. The PA clicked on. Then, a low feedback tone, just for a second. I walked over to the board and checked the input levels. Every fader was down. Nothing was plugged in that should have produced a signal. I powered the whole board off and back on. Told myself it was a grounding issue. The third time, there was no explaining it away. I was at the back of the press box, behind the announcer's desk, replacing a coaxial cable when the stadium lights came on. All of them. Every single floodlight illuminating that field like it was a Friday night. I stood up slowly and walked to the window. The field was empty, but the lights stayed on for exactly 4 minutes. I timed it on my phone and then shut off again, all at once. I stood in the dark press box for a long time after that, not moving. I should have called my supervisor right then. I know that, but I didn't want to look crazy. Instead, I went back the following week to run one final maintenance check before the district winterized the stadium. I parked in the back lot, let myself through the gate, and walked the concrete path toward the press box entrance. The tunnel that runs under the home bleachers is about 60 feet long and completely dark when the overheads are off. I had my flashlight. I walked through. Halfway through the tunnel, I stopped. There was a sound coming from above me, from the bleachers. A slow, rhythmic creak, like someone walking the metal risers one row at a time. Slow, deliberate, moving from the top of the stands down toward the field. I killed my flashlight and stood in the tunnel in complete darkness. The creaking continued. 11 steps. Then nothing. I waited 3 full minutes. Then I turned around and walked back to my car. When I got to the parking lot, I looked up at the stadium. The press box window was lit from inside. I had not turned a single light on that night. I told my supervisor there was a wiring problem and that someone else should handle the final winterization check. I have not gone back to that stadium alone since. The district did eventually bring in an electrician. He found no fault in any of the systems. The lights, the PA, all of it tested perfectly. I still think about those 11 steps. Whoever, or whatever, was walking down those bleachers knew exactly where to stop. Coached varsity track at a suburban Houston high school for 6 years. Track athletes train year-round. That's just the reality. While the football team gets the stadium for games, the track encircles the field, and the athletes have access to it all 12 months of the year. Early mornings, late evenings, Saturdays in December. Carla knew that stadium better than most people know their own homes. She told me, "I've been out there at 5 in the morning when it's 40 degrees and no one else is within half a mile of that place. I've never scared easily. That's important for you to understand before I tell you what happened." It was a Thursday evening in February, a week before district qualifiers. Carla had stayed late to supervise 2 of her athletes doing extra relay work. By the time they finished and she sent them home, it was approaching 8:30. The winter sun had been down for over 2 hours. The stadium lights were on. She had the override code, so the track was fully lit. She walked the inside lane alone, doing her cool down while reviewing the splits on her clipboard. Something made her look up. The far scoreboard, the one mounted on the visitor's side, maybe 80 yards away, had a service platform running underneath it. A narrow metal walkway, 3 feet wide, used by maintenance crews. You're not supposed to be up there without authorization, and there's a padlock gate at the base of the ladder. There was a man standing on that platform. She stopped walking. He was just standing there, completely still, hands at his sides, facing the field. She couldn't make out details at that distance, just a silhouette against the dark sky behind the scoreboard. She told herself it was a maintenance worker. Told herself she would have noticed someone up there before now. Kept walking. Looked down at her clipboard for maybe 10 seconds. When she looked up again, he was gone. She finished her lap and was heading toward the equipment gate when her phone buzzed. A text from one of her athletes, asking if she'd left her water bottle behind. Carla turned around and walked back toward the track to check the bench area near the starting blocks. She was halfway there when she noticed the gate at the base of the scoreboard ladder was standing open. The padlock was on the ground. She stopped. The platform above was empty, but the padlock on the ground was open, not cut, not broken. Open, as if someone had used the key. Carla told me the next part very carefully. She said, "My whole body told me to leave. I'm not someone who panics. But something about seeing that open lock on the ground made me feel like I had walked into something I was not supposed to see. Like I had interrupted a situation." She walked quickly back to the equipment room, grabbed her bag, and left the stadium without looking back. She called the school's facilities manager from her car. He told her no maintenance work had been scheduled that night. No one had authorized access to the scoreboard platform. And when the facilities team checked the next morning, the padlock was back in place. Locked. No sign of tampering. No record of a key being checked out. Carla requested that the district install a camera on the scoreboard platform. Months later, she told me, they finally did. 3 weeks after it was installed, the camera feed went offline for 47 minutes on a Tuesday night in October. When it came back on, the platform was empty. She resigned at the end of that school year. She told her principal it was for personal reasons. This is the one that kept me awake. A freshman at a state university on a football scholarship. During the summer before his sophomore year, he returned to his hometown in West Texas to train. His high school, a small-town program that had produced 2 NFL players and won 4 state championships in a decade, had given him full access to the stadium for the summer. He had a key, a code for the lights, and permission to use the field, the weight room, and the facilities from 6 in the morning until 10 at night. Ryan is 6'2", 220 pounds, and has been playing football since he was 7. He told me, "I want to be very clear about something. I'm not a person who gets scared. I've never told this story to anyone except my mother and my position coach, and my coach told me to stop talking about it. It was a Wednesday, mid-July, around 9:15 at night. Ryan was running routes alone on the field. He had the stadium lights on. His phone was connected to a Bluetooth speaker on the sideline, music playing. By his own estimate, he'd been out there for about 2 hours and was finishing up. He ran his final route, a deep post pattern toward the south end zone, caught the ball he'd thrown off the jugs machine, and jogged to a stop in the end zone. He looked up and saw someone standing in the north end zone. Across the full length of a football field, 100 yards, there was a person, standing completely still at the back of the end zone, where the painted grass meets the wall. Ryan told me he could tell it was a person because of the shape. Upright, 2 arms, facing him. He stood there for a moment, catching his breath. He called out. His voice echoed off the concrete and came back to him. No response. He told himself it was someone cutting through. The far gate was sometimes left unlatched. He walked slowly back toward midfield to grab his water. He looked up again. The person hadn't moved, still in the exact same position, exactly where they'd been, Ryan said. At that point, I felt something I can't fully explain. It wasn't just that someone was there. It was the way they were standing. People fidget. People shift their weight. People move. This person had not moved 1 inch in maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And they were just staring at me, across the whole field. Ryan decided to walk toward them. He was a college athlete, 220, and not about to let himself be run off a field that his high school had given him permission to use. He walked to the 40, the 30, the 20. The person did not react, did not step back, did not raise their hands, did not speak. At the 15-yard line, Ryan stopped. The figure was a man. He was wearing a leather jacket, the old style, the kind with leather sleeves, the kind Ryan's school hadn't issued in probably 30 years. His face was visible now under the end zone lights. He was older, not elderly, but older, and he was staring at Ryan with an expression Ryan described as completely neutral. Not angry, not afraid, just watching. Ryan said, I asked him who he was. He didn't answer. I asked him what he was doing in there. Nothing. I was close enough to see his face clearly, and his eyes were open, and he was looking right at me, and he wasn't blinking. Ryan's speaker was still playing from the sideline, 60 yards away. He became aware of it suddenly. The music, echoing around the empty stadium, weirdly loud in the silence between them. He took one more step forward. The man turned and walked through the end zone wall. Not around it. Not toward a gate in it. Through it. Ryan told me he stood in that end zone for a long time. He walked to the wall and put his hands on it. Solid concrete. No door. No gap. No opening of any kind. The wall was 8 feet of solid material, painted with the school's colors and mascot. He picked up his bag, his speaker, and his jugs machine remote, and he walked out of that stadium and drove home. He called his mother. She told him she'd heard stories, older ones, going back to when the stadium was built in the 1960s, about a former player who had died on that field during a game and who, according to people in town, had never really left. Ryan finished out the summer training at a facility across town. He went on to play 3 more years of college football. He told me he still watches old game film sometimes, film from his high school years, and there are moments, sideline shots, crowd pans, where he finds himself looking at the background, looking for a leather jacket with leather sleeves. He's never found one, but he told me he keeps looking. Those were 3 very scary true Texas high school football stadium horror stories. If you've had an experience in a stadium, a field, or any abandoned sports facility that you want to share, you can find the submission link in the description below. If something in tonight's video stayed with you, I'd be willing to bet it was the North End Zone. Let me know in the comments which story got to you most.